What's up guys and welcome to the video. Today we'll be checking out the PC budget build that I have built to run Fortnite and other games at 1080p resolution. But first let's go see some B-roll. So here's an overview of what we're gonna get. We'll run down the prices after we've kind of showcased each part, and so yeah. So here we have the first part of the build. This is the Zalman T4. It's a budget case that supports M8X motherboards. The Zalman T4 is an aluminum PC case that includes USB 3.0 on the front panel. With no side window, the case supports two 120mm fan that you can include in the build. Looking inside, we can see that the case supports two 3.5-inch hard drive cages and supports a normal ATX power supplies. Now for memory, I have chosen a 4GB stick of DDR3 1600MHz stick of RAM. This is generic, nothing really special about it. As for the graphics card, I have chosen the R7 260X because of its 1188MHz boost clock and 1750MHz memory clock. The graphics card came from a deal from a close friend of mine. And for the price per performance, this graphics card is a great deal for the price I got it for. To power the system, I have a 500 watt power supply that's going to be enough to charge the whole system. It was free, but I'm just going to include the price in the build log. The power supply doesn't have a 6-pin connector. That means that I have to get a Molex 6-pin connector, but I'm going to include that in the build. And another negative thing about the power supply is that it's very noisy, but it just dampens down by the end. For the hard drive, it's a 320GB hard drive, 3.5-inch. I wouldn't really recommend this because it's kind of old and clunky. It's kind of slow, but it's good enough for the build. And finally, for the motherboard and CPU, I have chosen the Gigabyte F2A58M. It's an FM2 motherboard that supports the X4 740 AMD CPU. This is part of the Piledriver CPU lineup that has 4 cores and 4 threads. This specification I wouldn't really recommend if you're looking to build into the future. This is just a build that I had separately. It's just parts I have lying around, and I would not recommend doing this because this lineup is gone. It's terrible, do not go with it, but it's just part of the build and it's rather quite cheap, so yeah. And there you have it for £120, approximately $160, somewhere around that price range. We have, I don't know, I shouldn't have included the power supply because that's like $17.99 plus the, I don't know, £3 extra for the 6-pin and SATA that I could have potentially just ignored. It would have come around to £100, save a bit of money for like the £20 for around £99. Well, I don't think you can get these deals out anymore because I bought the motherboard some time ago, the case as well, and the GPU just came from a friend, which the R7 should retail for around £50 or something, but you can't get those new anymore. But for the price, yeah, it's a good build for me, to be honest. The RAM could be higher. It's only 4GB, and the hard drive should be upgraded as well. But other than that, the CPU lineup should be decent enough for modern games. Maybe on the lowest settings and the lowest resolution. Maybe, I don't know. And finally, to conclude, let's build this PC. And then after, we'll play some games and run some benchmarks as well, like Passmark or maybe 3D Mark. Let's just get to it. But before that, let's clean this PC. Time for some cleaning time. So here we have the first game that I benchmarked. This is League of Legends with the medium-high settings. I didn't really change anything. I just left it as is. It was just what the system thought I could run it on. I didn't change anything, whatever. I could have dialed it down and get maybe higher FPS, but not really that much, to be honest. So, as we can see, the average we got here is around 60 to 70 FPS with a maximum of 112 and a minimum of 13. The minimum was probably me switching out to see like if there's anything going on around the map and it was loading in. It was maybe if you have a team fight, it was probably gonna dip between the 30 FPS range, but it should be good. It's completely playable for this system, and yeah. And next we have Fortnite. Now with this game, the 4GB and the hard drive was kinda slow and clunky. I would recommend upgrading to an 8GB if you have a system with 4GB and you intend to run Fortnite. The game ran perfectly fine, but it was just quite stuttery with a minimum FPS of 7 and a maximum of 19. The average FPS was about 50 to 80 depending on where you are. Out of nowhere, maybe in Salty Springs you can get around 80 FPS, but I'm not quite sure about Tilted. You can get between 40 and 60 in the busy area in a fight, and it's good enough for this game. PC is good enough for this game, and I'd kind of recommend maybe turning down some settings. I was running it on like around medium or low. Now the last game that I benchmarked was CSGO. Being an esports title, I thought that this would actually run much better than what I got, but with an average of around 56 to 60 FPS, it was quite stuttery as well. Not as bad as Fortnite, but with a maximum of 108 and a minimum of 20, it did dip between the 30 mark. It was in the middle of like a fight in a corridor. It was flames and smokes everywhere. It was pushing the system, but it's quite decent enough for this game as well. But upgrading the RAM and the hard drive should be a priority for this PC. But it's just a spare PC that I was having. I don't really use it, so yeah. And for the last benchmarks that I did, I ran a Unigine Heaven and Fire Strike. Now with Unigine, I did run the game on the medium settings with tessellation just to push the system a bit further. If I ran it on the lowest it can go, I could get more FPS, but might as well just push the system to the limit. And then we have Fire Strike. I just ran a quick 1.0 normal standard edition Fire Strike with a score that I actually expected to be lower, with a score being 3,700. I thought it'd be lower. This kind of I expected less, around 2,000 range, but yeah, not as a surprise. And there you guys have it. This is the £120 budget PC that I did, a build. It was quite an enjoyable project that I did. It was just spare parts lying around, but I would recommend upgrading to a 8GB stick instead of just having 4. Just completely replace that hard drive and this should be a pretty decent PC. Now, I did showcase with an RGB light. It was just a spare RGB light USB thing I had. You can get those for like really cheap, but I don't know. You guys can whatever. It's a showcase. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's been fun building this PC and doing whatever, and hope you guys enjoyed as well. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next episode.